You're listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth strategy, staff, clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina. This is Peter. We're founders and leaders of CIPR Communications, and we're continuing our chat about building websites.
Yeah, and today we're going to dive into a topic that we sort of alluded to in the first episode of this series, which is really conversion first or conversion focused websites versus creative first or creative focused websites. And I think it's an important topic because, I think as we mentioned before, there's a lot of creative agencies that build websites as well. I feel like we're a marketing agency that builds websites for marketing and for conversion. And so there's a pretty significant difference. And so we want to spend some time on exactly what that means. So Christina, maybe why don't you start in terms of, from your words, what's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think that, if you would have asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have no idea. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think that you're definitely the expert here in terms of understanding the difference between the two. But when it boils it down for me and the conversations I have with clients is the color of the button or where the button is, right? So, I think that someone who's thinking about a website very design-based has some really particular ideas about where that button's going to go, how it's going to show up, what color it's going to be, how someone interacts with it, versus on a conversion-based website, you're going to think about that a lot differently. Mm-hmm. Again, you're still going to be you're going to be thinking about where the button is, what color it is, where it looks like. But that to me is like the ultimate, well, why do you put this button here? And for us, the answer is, because that's a point in which someone is looking for the answer or moving to the next level or going to book something or doing something. And I think when you're creative first or design first, when you're building a website, the answer becomes because it looks good there.
Right.
Because it makes sense with the design. And what I'll say, to be fair to both schools of thought, is just because it's design first doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't convert. And just because it's conversion first doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't pay attention to design.
Totally.
But there's a priority level that changes when you are. So, I mean, to me, I always boil this down to where's the button?
Right. Yeah, no, and I think you make an important point. I mean, a website needs to be well designed and it needs to look nice and it needs to sort of tick some boxes when it comes to look and feel, but there's other boxes that also need to be ticked. And I guess that's sort of when it comes down to conversion oriented websites is really where the soul of our focus is. And so, I'll get into a couple things when it comes to conversion rate optimization. First of all, I mean, really it's all about aligning three things. The user's intent. So number one thing to think about in a conversion oriented website that a lot of companies and a lot of people have a hard time getting their heads around is it's not about your company and it's not about you. Mm. It's about your user and it's about what they want. They're coming to your website because they're looking for answers to something. They're looking for a solution to something. And it's your job to present them with those answers or those solutions in a way that's laid out logically, that makes sense, that they can follow, that, sort of takes them down a path of conversion. Number two, it's about obviously the website experience. So, they came to your website with an intention, and are they able to execute on the intention? Is the experience friendly? Do they know what to do next when they click a button? Is it logical? Does it flow properly? And then, obviously, importantly as well, when it comes to conversion, is your company's goals, because fundamentally, you want them to drive a sale, make a call, call your rep, whatever it is. And so really it's about aligning user intent, website experience, and company goals. And then, if you think about that and you think about sort of that user experience, from a conversion perspective, when a person lands on a website, really, and I'm giving credit to our good friend Marty Greif from Site Tuners, who sort of teaches about this a lot. But when somebody gets onto a website, they ask themselves three questions. Number one, am I in the right place? So that's answered by obviously the company logo being on the website, by the words you use in the first message they see in the above the fold message, Do they clearly define what they are, who they service, that type of thing. The second one is, how do I feel about this? And that's really where design comes in, and that's where flow and layout and menu bars and all those types of things come in. And then third, and this is really, really, really important for conversion, is, do I know what to do next? And so I've been on many websites where it's like, wow, this is obviously this is the company I was looking for, beautiful looking website. And it's like, they got their menu bar sandwiched somewhere and there's no calls to action and I don't know what to do next. And it's like, you've lost me. Right. And I've seen so many websites like that where it's like, oh, they don't want to put any words. They want to make it look really fancy. And then it's like, I don't know where to go. And the thing about people and websites is like, there's like billions of websites on the internet. If they don't, in a matter of seconds, know what to do next, you know what they're going to do? They're going to bounce. And they're going to go to the next website where they're going to look for, people are really short, they don't have a lot of time. They're looking for answers to their questions fundamentally. And if they don't immediately find what they need, they're gone, right? And so, that's fundamentally for me when it comes to design first. I see a lot of websites that are just like, again, fancy, nice, beautiful, literally have no idea where to go and what to do next. And that's a fail, in my opinion.
Yeah, your second point to me reminds me of a couple conversations we've had of, if I'm being honest, prospects, but also clients. No current clients, but this, like, who can I give an example? Okay, so a dental office. So you were going through the motions of prospecting this dental office that had come to us, and their website was something that they wanted to be redeveloped, and their current website was fine. Like, it wasn't, terrible, but they obviously were heavily focused on growing their business. So, okay, conversion is important. You're growing your business. You want more people in. And like, I mean, the answer to this, but more for like the listeners, it's like, what kind of pictures would you expect to see when visiting a dental office's website in order to feel like you were in the right place, that these people were legitimate? Like, okay.
Probably either a picture of their office, a picture of their team, a picture of a person in a dental chair, dental equipment, right? I mean, like, it's pretty
smiles,
simple, right?
Nice looking smiles.
Nice teeth, nice white teeth, yeah.
And it's like, this particular client, and it's funny because we've like worked in other sectors where like, actually, this is the type of imagery they want to use. Wanted to like have plants. Right? Like pictures of plants all over their website. And like, hey,
they told us, sorry, I'll interrupt. He told us straight up, well, we don't want to look like every other dentist. And it's like, why? It's like people are expecting to go to a dentist website and find a dentist.
And I just think like and it's hard. Like, it's hard. I think, especially if you're a visual person, and I'm not necessarily a visual person. So this to me becomes very comical, but it's like, you can stand out and be different based on your content in terms of your values, maybe your iconography, your colors. I think we've seen this time and time again in when we've worked in the energy space. So we designed a website for clients a few years back where they were in the energy space. So you think about energy companies, it's blue, it's red, it's that very corporate darker feeling. It's like, this one we use purples and hues of purple, and yes, there were pictures that made sense, but we made it stand out in a different way. So it's like, you don't need to stand out by like throwing a picture of a plant, but when you ask those questions, it's like, I always think of that example. And we recently kind of were talking to a client about the same thing. I want it to like have plants, and I'm like, but you're not in the plant industry.
Right. And you got to understand, like, people, they're on their phones, they're scrolling quickly, they're just looking for answers to their questions. Like, when they're searching Google, they're just looking for an answer, and they're not paying that much attention. And so when they land on a dental office website that basically looks like a florist, they may not even read anything because they might think, oh, I'm in the wrong place, and they're going to bounce, right? And so it's like, well, why take that risk?
Or
right?
just even like amateurish, right?
Yeah.
I remember when Marty Guy from Site Tuners went through our website, and I use this example a lot because, you know, not that he's offensive, but like when someone is critiquing your site from a pure outsider's view, it can feel a bit prickly. And for us, we had all of these group corporate shots done, and it was us, and that was great. But Marty was going through the site, and he's like, wow, you like all you use is stock images, and like you just look like, ooh, like, and I remember saying to him, like, no, that's us, like that's not stock, like this is us.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe your clients know that, but like your website isn't trying to drive business from the people who know who you are.
Right.
I'm an outsider and I visit this site, like this looks like a bunch of stock imagery. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit the same, it's a little bit different, but same concept in terms of like, you really need to remove yourself from the situation. Here I am thinking, oh, we have such a personalized website because it's photos of us. And it's like, well, nobody knows what we look like. It looks like just every other stock photo of, you know, when you search team in a boardroom.
Right.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. And that's, you got to sort of take that comment with some caution, because like, you know, again, let's go back to the dental office. Like, obviously, if you have a dental office with 15 staff and you're all wearing your, you know, your dental clothing and that's your homepage image, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, it wasn't that scenario. It was sort of like images of us in different places on our website. So they didn't make sense in that context. So obviously context matters a lot. Whereas, you know, it's like, okay, fine. Like if you want to highlight your team on your homepage and like, it's very clear that that's your team, that's a very different thing. Right. So again, it's like, you know, that's why it's not that simple. It's complicated. And you really got to think it through the entire thing, from front to bottom. But really, I think the most important thing I've learned when it comes to conversion oriented websites, and if we can leave people with one thought, is that your website isn't about you. Your website is about your users, their intent, their questions, and answering their questions and giving them what they need. And frankly, all content marketing, all SEO, everything we do on the internet now is all about the user and their intent, right? It's all about, you know, you think about SEO is all about, hey, people are looking for answers to questions, and your job is to sort of show up with the right answer in a way they like it. And so your website's exactly the same.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, it's as simple, like I said at the beginning, it's simple as the button, but like also as complicated as the picture.
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking about a website from a creative first perspective, or a conversion for you may be thinking about the exact same picture, but a design focus is going to put that picture somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And a conversion focus is going to put that picture somewhere else. And there's going to be different reasons behind where that photo is going.
Yeah, actually, I had a conversation with a prospect just yesterday, and we were talking about this exact topic, and we were talking about video because they wanted to use a lot of video on their website. And, you know, and I was sort of talking about video in terms of conversion. Like, video doesn't help conversion often, it actually hinders conversion, but video can help conversion if it's done properly. And so again, it's complicated business, right? So I'll just give this a quick example. If the first thing somebody sees on your homepage when they show up, when they land there, is just this like video that starts playing right away and there's a lot of moving parts, very bad for conversion. However, if there's a message in a video that a person has the option to play, and you say something like, watch this 36-second video to learn X, very good for conversion. But it's a massive difference in terms of how you put that video on there, how you describe the video. You're putting the power into the user's hands and they choose to watch the video. So there's all kinds of subtle things that happen when you're focused on conversion that you still might be able to play that video. You're just going to put it in the website differently. You're going to explain it. You're going to give the user an understanding of what they're going to see when they're there. You know, it's all about making them feel good and confident and wanting to click that button, right? And whereas if you just put a video on your homepage and it starts playing right away, it's like, you know, fight or flight mode. Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. I'm gone, right?
Yeah, it's true. All right, that's conversion versus creative. So I think, you know, if you're looking to develop a website and you're engaging an agency, I think this is a great question to start with. How do you build sites?
Yeah.
Is it conversion based or creative based? And I'm going to say there isn't a wrong answer, like, right? But, you know, we're going to talk about why we approach websites next from a conversion-based perspective. But, you know, there isn't a wrong answer, but going in, you need to understand where your agency is coming from. And that's going to be, the process will be different. And again, that's okay, but you got to make sure that that aligns with what you're trying to achieve too.
Yeah. And I'll just end with, you know, just because you're working with a creative agency doesn't mean they don't build conversion oriented websites, and vice versa, right? Just because you're working with a conversion oriented agency doesn't mean they don't build creative websites. So it's about asking the right questions to make sure that your business goals are being met, so that you don't end up with a very fancy looking website that is horrendous from a conversion perspective.
Yeah, I mean, even us, I would say 3 years ago, we probably skirted more on the side of creative focused websites because we just weren't educated enough in conversion. And I think we were getting there, but definitely approached it from more of a creative perspective.
And at the time we had an in-house creative person, and we were more creative focused as an agency,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, totally.
Well, there you go. Okay. Continuing what I think is a very interesting conversation.